Hey guys, welcome back to the Franchise Tagged Podcast Season 2, Episode 11. Gonna kick things off by shouting out our Spotify. Go check that out. We've got episodes uploaded weekly on there. You don't get the nice little segment short videos, but you do get the full-length podcasts if you prefer to get those through your ear holes instead of your eye and ear holes. We're going to go over our game-by-game recap, then the PickEms recap, switching things up a little bit this week, and then have a segment on the Chiefs and their season so far, and then typical stocks PickEms stuff for predicting next week, and then get on out of here.
Yep. I'll start us off as the FTP TNF correspondent this week. Someone was busy, and I wasn't. So I got to watch this really, really fun game. It started off pretty rough. Both teams, especially the Ravens, did not gel quickly. And then the second half rolls around and everything kind of goes haywire. Jamar Chase had a career day with, I think it was 242.
So it wasn't a career day because he did not set career highs at any stat, receptions, yards, or touchdowns.
That's wild.
Probably his best overall game, but there have been games where he's had more catches, more yards, and I think I hope the same amount of touchdowns because I don't think he's had 4 in a game.
Yeah.
But just had to interject with that real quick because I saw that float around.
Yeah. But okay, a near career high day. Great day for Jamar Chase fantasy owners, aka myself. Got 55 points there, and it was a great game up until like the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter, and then it just felt like the refs were gonna flag any possible thing they saw, which there was a good handful of ones that were legitimate and weren't super ticky-tack. But then there were a lot that were like, okay, why did you need to call that? And so they set this up like, okay, this whole minute we're flagging everything we see. And then they just didn't because the Bengals went down, they scored, and they were lining up to go for 2, and they went for 2. And on the single 2-point conversion play, they missed a defensive hold on Mike Gesicki, and they also missed a roughing the passer, face mask, hands to the face, whatever you want to call it. Basically, guy hit Joe Burrow face. And they kept the flags in their pockets right at that moment, and that was what sealed the game because, okay, now we don't have the lead, and now it's, we didn't go for it for the win. We just lost the game on this play. And it's mostly because the refs kept penalties in their pocket, despite letting them fly for the solid 5 minutes prior to this play.
Yeah. The few things I've seen since this game, obviously I've seen the screenshot floated around that had 3 penalties in one screenshot. I think it was actually 3 face masks. There was the one dude who had Joe Burrow's face mask, then the other face mask over here, and then the second guy had the third face mask. So yes, obviously I saw those. I also saw somebody say that 2-point conversion attempts are refereed as if, or like go ahead 2-point conversion attempts are refereed as if they're Hail Marys. So a lot of shit kind of flies on Hail Mary attempts and like end of game, last minute stuff. And apparently they treat them the same, which whether or not that is like how things should be, if that's the case, I haven't done any research into that, so don't quote me on it. But if that is the case and there is some historical evidence to that, then okay, that's dumb, but at least there's some precedent to it. And I've also seen some people criticizing the Bengals for going for 2 until I was like, you know what, maybe they should have sent it to overtime, hope to win the toss. But then I saw the drive by drive thing, and it was like Ravens touchdown, Bengals punt, Ravens touchdown, Bengals punt, Ravens touchdown, Bengals touchdown, Ravens touchdown. But it was like every time they touched the ball, they were scoring. So no, you're not. You don't give that team the ball in overtime or have any chance to do it. So it was just an unlucky draw for the Bengals, really.
Yeah, and I'll counter the whole like first off, referees should not treat any different game situation differently than any other game situation.
No, they should
be
not.
A play-by-play
That's
basis.
Correct.
And like with that in mind, also, we see penalties fly at the end of game moments all the time, and it gives them a whole nother extra play. And like, it's not as rare as like any number of Chiefs games that you see them win because it's we need a go-ahead touchdown to win this game, and then it happens.
I will say real quick, though, I feel like on Hail Marys, every time that it's like a true Hail Mary ball's in the end zone, there's 6 guys around it, you could throw offensive or defensive pass interference on every single Hail Mary because there's contact. There always is. Because there's 12 guys huddled around the ball all trying to catch it. So there's going to be jostling and there's going to be like the ability to throw a flag on that. But I think the point was they don't throw flags on them because both teams have the same level of urgency to get to the ball and they have the right to get to the ball. And most of them play it as if they are going for the ball, which cannot be flagged. But the flags that were missed on the 2-point conversion don't fit that mold.
Like on Hail Mary plays, you are, as a defensive player, you should not have your back to the quarterback at all on a Hail Mary. You are standing in the end zone and you're watching a ball come in. So there, you can't get the flag for like, oh, he didn't get his head around. Your head's been around. Yeah. Like there's no turning around there. So there's just a whole lot of different varying aspects there. But we can transition from this game, which ended with a, game-ending no-call penalty, to some that really ended because of penalties that were called. And this isn't so much as these shouldn't have been called, the refs are bad, whatever. No, these are just big goofs and gaffes from defensive linemen. The Vikings, very tight game against the Jaguars. And it was 3rd down. They were backed up into the shadow of their goalpost. And Trayvon Walker just really had it out for the ball carrier on this play. Did you happen to see this at all?
No? Should I go find it? Oh, he punching. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, amusing. Good job, Trayvon. Good choice of use of hands.
We won't put the video in, but Trayvon, he maybe went for a strip, a punch out, a peanut. He was like, oh, I'm really going to get it here. And then he sent another fist, and then he sent another. And, 3 of these happened after the play's been blown dead. He's basically just throwing people off to try to get to the running back and keep punching at him. It's quite insane to see. And, that went ahead and gave the Vikings a 1st down and meant that the rest of the clock could just be melted away. And similar situation, Commanders versus the Steelers. Boy, oh boy.
Sweet baby boy.
Johnny,
no.
we love you over here at Franchise Tag. And that sucked. that hurt to see, especially the player committing it. But yeah, there was is it neutral zone infraction? I'm not sure if it's offsides. I think he was just lined up.
I think it was neutral zone. It wasn't. It would have been either encroachment or neutral zone, and they really don't be calling encroachment anymore because they blow it before there's contact. But yeah, it was They got him to jump. It was a very clear, we're going to try to make you jump situation, and he jumped, and I was like, man. Yeah. But it is a rookie mistake. That's something that is not expected of rookies. Obviously, you hold everybody who makes the NFL to a high standard, especially guys who were like first round, second round picks. But it is something that you look at and you say, okay, he's a rookie. It happens. And it sucks. And they lost the game partially because of that. But I still hold he holds a special spot in my heart. I still feel bad for him. I still, he's my sweet baby boy, Johnny Newton, and I will never blame him for anything. It wasn't his fault.
As soon as I see the text from you, no, I'm like, what's happening? Because you're always a little bit before me, and I look up from my phone from that text, and I see him jump, and I'm like, no.
And initially I was like, no, he jumped. How could he? And then I saw it was him, and I was like. It's like world ending, but anywho,
I've hogged the opening section here. I'll go ahead and I'll let you intro the game that my team played.
This was nightmarish to watch. I mean, this Sunday Night Football is what we're on now. Texans Lions. This was a game going into it. I was like, this could be game of the week. This is candidate for a really fucking excuse the language, really freaking good game.
Not on my Christian Minecraft server, damn.
It had all the makings of like an actually really good game, and then Jared Goff threw 5 picks, and he had all the stats were like he's thrown 11 touchdowns and 10 incompletions over the past 4 games, and now he makes up for that and now enters the worst in the league as far as interception numbers go. I don't actually know what he ranks compared to the rest of the league, but I gotta imagine adding 5 to the number does not look good.
Yeah, he's got 9 on the year. I don't know interception stats off the top of my head.
Per teamrankings.com, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, and Jordan Love all have 10. Mahomes, Goff, and Baker have 9.
Fun. I don't know, man. Those are all good quarterbacks.
They're all great, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah. How many does Drake May have? That's what I thought. I closed the website. I'm just saying shit to say shit at this point. But yeah, this game was just a nail biter of all nail biters. Jake Bates loves hugging the upright. I mean,
no matter what,
he's about ready to propose to it at this point. Like he's that close to it every time. Both of his kicks from 50 plus that like hugged the uprights. One was to the right, one was to the left. Made both of them, obviously. But I was watching him go, and I was like, that's going to doink in. And then it just barely squeaked by. You probably couldn't fit a piece of paper in between the ball and the upright. And then the second one goes, and I'm like, man, that one's for sure going to doink in. Because I just wanted it to be like a little, doink into into being a good field goal, just because that's extra fun.
Yeah, a little thumb noise to it just really sells it.
I love hearing the thumb.
No, on this game, I do want to say those were the craziest 5 interceptions. Like, okay, the first one was like, I think he was throwing out of a sack. It basically got popped straight up and caught by people at the line of scrimmage. Then it just kept going with that. Another like pop up caught by people at the line of scrimmage. Then we have, I think the third was the Hail Mary to end the game or end the half. So that one, you don't really care what the end result is. You're just hoping for a touchdown, but huck that thing down there. Makes sense. The fourth one was kind of Laporta on a little delay. There was a little like hands fighting at the top of the route, and Laporta didn't get his head turned around quick enough off of it, and the DB catches it behind that. So it's like, yeah, you want to throw that ball because you're anticipating your guy winning this, getting it, and you're going to be down at the 2-yard line or whatever like yard they were at when that pick happened. And then the fifth and final one was probably the one pick, like one true pick that is a bad pass, like bad. It's not like a bad read. He had Jamo in one-on-one coverage, but the angle wasn't right. He kind of let him too much on the seam versus leading him towards the sideline to toe tap it in where he's completely away from the safety, whereas he kind of made the safety. He threw the ball so the safety could just stack over him, and then Jamo definitely wasn't looking for the ball. He ran past the pick. So honestly, in my mind, it's like, okay, we got 4 picks that are all really just like bad luck picks, not like, oh, he's just throwing because he's seeing ghosts. Like he knew what he was seeing. He had one inaccurate ball and then a couple of really circumstantial ones.
I don't know if you heard Dan Campbell talk about it, but he was asked on a radio show, like he was asked about the interceptions, and he was like, yeah, I mean, I really don't think he played that bad of a game. Like the 5 picks is a big number, but they were all the reads that we wanted him to make, and he was making the right reads and good throws. He was just getting unlucky with them, really. Yeah. And that's the vibe I like. Every time he threw a pick, I was like, well, it wasn't a bad read. Like, obviously it's picked, so it wasn't a perfect read, but like a lot of them were just him getting unlucky. And if it was somebody with like, I don't want to say chronic interception syndrome, but if it was somebody who's like just continuously throwing a bunch of picks, yeah, you're gonna kind of look at him a little bit different. But when it is this guy who's gone basically the whole year being one of the safest quarterbacks in the league and made some of these smartest decisions in the league, it's kind of hard to put all 5 on him. It's actually impossible to put all 5 on him because some were tipped and stuff. But like, it's hard to say that it's entirely his fault and not just the Texans defense being insanely good, which is something else that we've seen this year is the Texans defense is an extremely good defense. So I don't think I know there's no reason to worry as a Lions fan, but if any Lions fans are out there just box score watching and you are concerned about the 5 interceptions, just know you're fine. He's fine. It's just a bad game.
Yeah.
And by bad, I mean unlucky. So
To actually talk about the Texans for any point of the Lions-Texans game recap, they got shut out in the second half. They were really unable to run the ball, which has been kind of the recipe for success, is get Joe Mixon the ball and let him run all over the opposing teams. They got shut out because they couldn't get the run going for most, actually all of the game. I feel like they probably had a couple that broke for more than 10 yards, and that was it. And yeah, it was just kind of, we played cover one, we played man coverage the whole game, and it's just the first half we were definitely getting a lot of the tight end exposing on linebackers, running backs exposing them, and then they kind of just locked in, got 2 picks for Carlton Davis, and it's not that big of a worry because they're going against a D-line that has not let runs happen on them as long as Dan Campbell's been head coach. So for the Texans, flip side of this, I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, you've been lacking that offensive line, but the offensive line looked good. Granted, against a minimal pass rush, but they looked good. CJ was able to stay in the pocket and deal for the whole first half. It's just the run game wasn't going to overpower the run defense in this one.
Yeah. Speaking of pass rush, by the way, I just got to ask about James Houston. I don't know if you know anything about that.
He sat in some Gatorade. That's all.
Clearly, did he?
Sat in some Gatorade.
He sat in some brown Gatorade.
It was orange, yeah, and some orange Gatorade.
In just that one spot, there wasn't nowhere else. Just
no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's when you sit on things and you manage to sit on it without your butt cheeks touching it whatsoever. It was that.
I can't say I do actually. Anywho, all right.
Shit himself for the win, brother.
Shit himself for the win. All right, get us into this PickEms recap, and then we'll go on to the segment.
Yep. So similar weeks for the two of us. We both went 10-4. We had different picks. This wasn't a week that we matched perfectly on. Both of us kind of struggled in those early window games. You went on a heater for the last 6 games. You got the last 6 games that were played chronologically correct. I missed on my Monday Night Football, but I did go on a streak in the middle of there as well with 7 in a row, and we came out to 10-4, which keeps pace with me being 96-56 on the year, and you being 152, keeping that gap there. And on the locks,
you missed another one.
Once again, I missed another lock with the Bears.
You did lock the Bears,
and yeah, their head coach is gone, so that wasn't
no.
Head coach. Offensive coordinator. The play caller is gone there. You, however, did not miss your lock. You went 8-2. You locked the Vikings in that shit show.
Lucky. It was all luck.
Yeah, you're really making a wide gap between me and you on the pick'ems this year. It's sad to see. This is now worse than I performed on my locks last year. I've had more miss than all of last year. But
we're 10 games into this thing.
Yeah. With that out of the way, you can go ahead and start a civilized conversation about the Chiefs, please, for once.
Yeah. The Chiefs are now 9-0, and I don't feel like they deserve that record. So let's talk about their season so far, the games they've won, and then maybe what their future in this season will look like, with some historical context as well, as I see you've added. I did click that link, by the way.
Nice.
So week 1, they squeak out a win over the Ravens, and that is the game where Isaiah Likely had his toe out of bounds on the final play to tie it, to send it to overtime. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee a Ravens win, but being that close to having a chance to win it is unfortunate, and the Ravens lost on that last play. It was a game right up until the end, and the Chiefs squeaked out a win against a really good Ravens team. Then, week 2, they get a 1-point win over the Bengals after a justified flag on the Bengals defense on the Chiefs' last drive that puts them into field goal range, shades of the playoffs and some matchups with the Bengals there. A very close game, again, decided on the last play with that game-winning field goal. Then week 3, we get the 5-point win over the Falcons, with the absurd no call on the defensive pass interference on Kyle Pitts when he was getting hugged in the end zone way before the ball got there. That's just a bad call by the refs, or a bad no call by the refs. That gives the Chiefs a win there. Obviously, if the call goes the Falcons' way, there's still no guarantee they win it, but just to illustrate a point, let's say that they would. Then week 4, they've got a 7-point win over the Chargers. Derwin James is suspended for a game. I won't hold that against the Chiefs or their win or anything like that. I think that's a genuine victory for them that doesn't have too many caveats. Week 5, they've got a 13-point win over the Saints. It's the Saints, so I'm not, I'm not saying that they undeservedly won that game, but it's not that much of a game to me. Then I believe this is week 7 because they had a week 6 bye, correct?
Let me double check that.
That or they had a week 5 bye.
They did have a week 6 bye week.
Okay. So then week 6 bye. Week 7, they have a 10-point win over the 49ers, albeit handed victory over a good team, but 49ers did not have Debo or Christian McCaffrey, and Ayuk tore his ACL that game. He had 2 catches that game, and they're more than likely game planned to get Ayuk pretty heavily involved without Debo and CMC. Yeah. Then they have a 7-point win over the Raiders. Again, it's the Raiders. Then they have an overtime win versus the Bucs, where the Chiefs won the overtime toss and scored first, not giving the Buccaneers a chance to score in overtime. Again, dumb rule that needs to be changed, and that has been for the playoffs, but that rule still has not been updated for the regular season. And then we get into this past weekend, where they blocked a field goal, a 36-yard field, 33, 36, a sub 40-yard field goal that they blocked last second to beat the Broncos.
Yeah.
Now,
time expiring kick would have won it, would have been a walk-off, went ahead and blocked it, and there was like 4 guys that could have blocked it. It was whole special teams collapse for the Broncos in that situation.
I'm not saying that they deserve to lose all of these games or most of these games. They've won them for a reason. I'm just saying, for an undefeated team, this is a whole lot of not convincing victories that we've seen them have, and I'm not going to say it scares me, because I feel like every week I'm expecting them to lose and they squeak it out, so I'm fully expecting that to happen for the rest of the season for them. But it does kind of make me wonder, what is their future this season? Are we going to see a Steelers 11-0 to 11-6 level collapse, or 11-5? What, like when they had their undefeated start?
They were 11-0 and they ended 12-4 because it was still the 16-game season.
Yeah, and then lost in the wild card round, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So are we going to see something like that, or are we going to see them continue this out? And you've got their upcoming schedule here, and then your little topic here, and I will let you take the reins from here because I have said my piece.
Yeah. So these are close games. The Chiefs have been playing very close football all year, and you make the point that like they shouldn't be undefeated because of all of these really like single play determining factors that you could tack on to each of these play. Like all of these games, you can pin a single play and be like, that was a difference maker. And you go ahead and you try to project out the rest of the year because, like you said, the Steelers, they were not winning convincingly when they were 11-0. And it was kind of like a win or the break's going to fall off of this team. And I feel that despite the, we'll say like, shaky ground that this 9-0 season has been built on after all the things we went through, this doesn't feel at all like the Steelers did in 2020. The Steelers in 2020 were really uncohesive, whereas the Chiefs, they've been cohesive, just not in the way that you would expect. It hasn't been cohesive from Mahomes' standpoint. They've been running the ball, they have been controlling clock, they have been riding on the defense, and winning these close games because the offense hasn't been the thing that's going to like plow ahead full steam. And so you go ahead and you look at the rest of the schedule here. We got the Bills that are coming up, and that one's scary because if you have Mahomes not playing his best football, how do you expect to play Josh Allen, who, yeah, he's had a little bit of a fall off the past couple of weeks, but he's still playing that top tier, like he's making sure he controls possession. He's not giving the ball away like he has in the past. But then after that, like, okay, is it going to fall off on the Bills? Well, if it doesn't, if we have another like OT, Mahomes gets the ball first, Josh Allen overtime, whole situation there. Well, then they're gonna come off of that and they're gonna see the Panthers. Um,
Bryce
yeah,
Young is going to end the Chiefs' undefeated season. He's going to do it. I know he is.
he's gonna be the headhunter we all need. I don't see that happening. If they beat the Bills, if they're strong enough to beat the Bills, I don't see them falling to the Panthers. So now we have them.
But they almost fell to the fucking Broncos.
Almost.
See, yeah, no, that's the thing though, is the point that can be made with all of these games that are coming up. It's like, no, there's no reason that they should lose these. And it's like, yeah, but there's no reason they should have been like depending on a blocked field goal to beat the Broncos. There's just no reason for that. There's no reason that they should only be beating the Raiders by 7 points.
Yeah.
Like,
they beat the Saints by 13 though.
oh boy. Yeah. And then I did want to comment on what you said about the lack of parallels between the Steelers and Chiefs, the Steelers 2020 season. Mm-hmm. I would actually argue that it's very similar because the Steelers also heavily relied on their defense to take them to that 11-0 start, which is something that the Chiefs have been doing as well, as their offense, albeit has scored points, but it's not looked good. Even when they are running the ball and running it effectively, they put up 16 points and beat the Broncos. So Broncos defense is good. I'll give them that. But I feel like a very large part of this season is the same as the Steelers, where it's very strong defense and very disciplined special teams. And then the offense does whatever and they still win. And that's exactly how I feel like the Steelers were playing in 2020 when they got out to that 11-0 start and then fell apart. But I do think you're right that this does feel different. I just can't pinpoint where it feels different.
Go ahead and like lose the next I don't feel that this is going to be a team that's going to just fall apart because they've yet to show, like, they keep adding pieces. They've been growing better despite not winning by any larger margins. They've been growing better as the season went on. Like, Mahomes has gotten better. Kelsey fucking finally found the love for football once again and started going off. So, when you got the Bills being the toughest opponent for the rest of the stretch, we got the Bills, Texans, I could truly see as like they're going to knock them off. The rest, you got the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, Browns, Steelers. Like, good mix of division games in there, so those are always tighter. But the non-division games are, to me, feel like they're leaning towards the Chiefs' strengths, not the teams they're playing strengths. And when you want to go ahead and go to that link, go look at this is the full list of the last undefeated team. For every season, this is the team that was undefeated the longest, and the end result for them. And it takes all the way until 2006, the Indianapolis Colts, to be the team that was the longest undefeated to also win the Super Bowl. So this is what the whole season's been really building up for the Chiefs. They are fighting for that three-peat hardcore. They're making trades. They're bringing back guys that, they let walk because they need players with all the injuries they've sustained. When we look through this whole list, like, okay, you have so many years between the last time it won a Super Bowl, and it's like this, Mahomes, the Chiefs, this little dynasty run they've had, they've certainly broken these records of like, this is the longest since this happened, like the Kurt Warner thing with Mahomes. And it's hard to feel that they're not trending that way because the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chiefs have won for the past year. They're in the AFC Championship every freaking 5 years straight, more than that, 7. It's been a ridiculous, passing of the torch from the Brady era into, okay, the AFC is now owned by Mahomes and the Chiefs. And it doesn't feel like that 11-0 Steelers. And I'd be shocked to find the next team that really could compete with this team out of the last undefeated run. Because, you look since 2020, I feel like there hasn't really been strong, this is the last undefeated team,
Well, I think Eagles in 2022 coming off the season that was the season they went to the Super Bowl. So that was a very strong team that ended up making Super Bowl and losing. I feel like the 49ers in a couple of their undefeated years definitely looked very strong. But yeah, I think it's also tough to compare final undefeated teams because the last undefeated team oftentimes is just the one with the luckiest schedule, not necessarily the best team. And I think that's what you see with all these, like you said, since 2006, nobody has won the Super Bowl after being the last undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks much more towards the last undefeated team being the luckiest team rather than the best team. There's only been one last undefeated team that missed playoffs, and that was the 2016 Vikings, but they were only 5-0 when they were the last undefeated.
Yeah.
So I don't
take much stock in one that ended prior to the midseason mark.
Yeah. A lot of these teams ended up making the Super Bowl and losing it. I'll probably have a small portion of this list up on the screen ahead on top
since
of us.
2000.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought I found that link and I thought it was a good kind of have a conversation around this because, we can liken we'll say, as I said, unsteadiness of the wins to that Steelers team, but it's like this is way better than that Steelers team in my mind, at least. How I felt watching that Steelers team, waiting week after week, like why are they winning these games? They blow. Versus this team, where there was like a good 4-week stretch where it was like, how are they winning these games? They suck really bad, but they've kind of put it together, and now they look more like okay, they can win a game. Like the Broncos, really strong defense, and it's not like many teams beat up on the Broncos defense. So
yeah, I feel like we are going to see an end to the season at some point before the Super Bowl for the Chiefs. I think that they have benefited from a weaker schedule. I don't have the exact numbers to say, oh, their strength of schedule is ranked X in the league and that's whatever. But I do think that they are playing one of the easier schedules, which has led to this, as well as getting a lot of really lucky calls and then really lucky situations. And I think the wheels will fall off at some point for them. Not necessarily to the point of the Steelers where it was like they went 1-4 in their last 5 and then lost their first playoff game. So really 1-5 in their last 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we will see them go up against a strong team in the playoffs and just not be able to do it unless they get a lot of lucky calls. And at that point, I will be infuriated with the officiating of that game, and I will have another rant. At this point, though, I do feel like I can have a good discussion about what's going on with them because you feel like you've seen something out of them that's led to these victories. I don't. I really don't. I'm really failing to see what their strength is outside of they are able to play to just above the level of their competitors in every single game, whether their competitor is good or bad. And I don't feel strongly about that. If that's something that you feel is a path to success for the future, then that's probably where our difference lies. But I just don't see that as something that's sustainable for the playoffs when the stakes are much higher.
For right now, like the state that I'm in right now, especially when we get to later in the season, the playoffs, because at this point they're a lock for the playoffs, whether it be wild card, they're gonna make it. It's not so much like here's what I know they've done this season, and here's also I looked it up. They had the 10th easiest schedule, so they if you want to go opposite rank that, it's 22nd in terms of difficulty. And a good part of that would come from the division and how the division performed last season. So there's that.
Yeah. That does fit my headcanon of them. Plus, they faced Bengals early on, which the Bengals early on are always a little worse than they actually are.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Continuing with that question you kind of posed to me, when it gets to the playoffs specifically, I'm thinking about all the injuries that they suffered or this season. So, Rashee Rice isn't going to be back, but there's a chance Hollywood Brown will be because it was said that he was going to miss the regular season. They kind of didn't even know it was going to be that bad. After a couple of weeks, they were like, okay, he's sidelined for the rest of the regular season, and they want him back for playoffs. So you're going to have Hollywood Brown, and you're going to have D-Hop, and then you go ahead and you add in Isaiah Pacheco, who got hurt for a good majority of this season. He's kind of trending to be healthy soon. Yeah.
He just got activated off IR today.
Yes. So I'm more so projecting as okay, here's what they've been lacking, and here's what they're getting back, right when the time that the Chiefs kind of do their thing in November, December, January, where they put things together and they just go on a frenzy. They're getting the pieces they need to do that back at a great time to try to keep this going. And, they can lose to the Bills and I won't be shocked. And they can lose to the Raiders and they could lose any number of these games. But I don't think it would be like a cascading fall. It's going to be, okay, we dropped one and we're going to go and win next week and we're going to win the week after that, because it's not going to be something that they become a losing football team. They're going to be the winning team they are with some losses.
Definitely let us know your thoughts on the Chiefs season so far and what you think they will do the rest of the year, how far you think they'll make it. I think that as long as they have Mahomes and Steve Spagnuolo, they will be a threat in the playoffs and in any game. So I think they can make the Super Bowl. I'm just less confident in them. So let me know if I'm crazy and I'm way off base for saying that they aren't a convincing football team and that you disagree with me.
Yeah, I can't believe you just left out Andy Reid's Mr. Nuggies himself name off of that little 2-person list you had there.
He's assumed.
He's
assumed.
Caught a stray.
he's assumed, okay? He's assumed. The offense has not been good. But anywho, now we can get into the NFL stocks for the week, and I didn't really pay too much attention to what happened, so I don't really know what my stocks have done. I can say that my Dolphins, they won. It's great for them. So happy. Actually couldn't be happier.
You also own the Rams, but
I own the Rams, but that was more of a we'll call it a long-term purchase than a short-term, because I did pick the Dolphins last week, so I kind of assumed they would win. I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the Dolphins again, because they are playing the Raiders this week, a team that I have actually negative confidence in, if you could believe that.
I got confidence in them to lose, that's for sure.
I have supreme confidence in their ability to lose games. Then I've got the Ravens, they've accrued a decent little bit of capital for me, and they're entering a bit of a tough matchup, a divisional game, and they don't really have much more to gain, if I'm being honest. Like, they're at 700 right now. I've made $200 on them, but I'm not sold on their downfall yet. I think they'll be good the rest of the season. So I think I'm going to just hold on to my Ravens stock and see what goes on from there. Then I've got 2 49ers and 2 Rams. The 49ers just got McCaffrey back, and they have a bit of a tough stretch of games coming up. But again, it's not something that I'm unconfident in them
He has positive confidence in this team.
Above zero confidence in the 49ers. And then the Rams, like I said, were a bit of a longer-term investment. I think I'm just going to look through the stocks and pick some out to buy, because I do have $1,200 in the bank, so I've got a decent chunk of change just waiting to be spent. So if you want to kind of go through anybody you're seeing that you might want to take a look at selling or buying, or any moves you're thinking about making.
Yeah, so we have a lot of similar owned stocks here. I've got the Ravens, the Rams, the Niners. I held on to my Falcons. I bought them pretty early on. Still holding on to my Packers at the moment. The Packers have made me minimal profit, so I'm not super keen on dropping it, but also they've been trending less in the direction that they're going to add profit to me. So they're definitely a candidate for sell here. But one of these teams definitely stands out the most, and it is the Chargers to sell here. The Chargers, they've got a tough slate coming up. They're playing a lot of the AFC North shortly. I think it's Bengals and then Ravens. Yeah, Bengals, then Ravens, and those aren't matchups I have them confidently winning in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sell them just for the $75 profit I'm taking out on them. I did buy multiple of them earlier in the year, and I cashed out some of those earlier on. So going ahead and cashing out the additional $675 right now is going to up my bank account all the way to $800 from the $175 it was at. And now I'm kind of like looking ahead. I'm trying to gauge, do I want to hold these Falcons longer? The Packers, they've been losing steam. The Packers are coming off their bye week, so I'm confident that they'll go ahead and they'll get a win at least this week coming off their bye. So I want to hold on to them. And then looking at the Falcons, they're not showing me the most confident like showing that I had of them early on in the year when I purchased them. And it's coming up right before their bye week, so it's like, do I want to hold them till their bye week and see where I go from there? And I think that's kind of where I'm trending towards, is keeping a hold on them. And then I'm sure you found a team that you would like to purchase, and so while you make your purchases, I will scout my possible ones.
Yeah, so I've seen a couple, and I actually am going to sell the Ravens, not because I don't believe in them, but because I think there's more value elsewhere. So I'm going to gain $700, bringing up my total to 1,900, and removing the Ravens, who I purchased for 500. I purchased them when they were 4-4, I believe that was what they were, maybe 3-3. But I purchased them a while back. Now they've gained $200 for me, and so I will go ahead and I will take that profit. And there's two teams I'm looking at. I will say one of them because we do kind of the snake draft kind of thing where I'll do two moves, then you do two moves. So I'm going to go ahead and buy 2 shares of the Buccaneers stock, which is $400 each. That is totaling out at $800. It's a bit odd buying them after the Godwin and Evans injuries, but they're still showing to be a good team, and I still believe in them. And at 400 apiece, I think they'll end above 500.
Yeah,
So they're entering a bye week this week as well. And then they come out of the bye week, week 12, they play the Giants. So I don't think that there is any risk of them losing value over the next 2 weeks because they don't play, and then they have essentially a second bye week against the Giants. So spending 800 on Bucks 2x or x2, and cost at purchase obviously is 800.
yeah. I was looking at those Bucks too, but I was kind of looking at it with the vision of they're on their bye week, so I can delay that purchase there. Some of these other cheaper options that are like slightly below 500 that I'd be confident in finishing above 500 is the Bengals. Now, do I think that they like pure rally and go undefeated the rest of the year and make the playoffs off of it? Maybe not, because they dug themselves into such a hole at the start of the year this time around versus previous years. But this is definitely a team that, I mean, we just saw that heart-wrenching loss in on Thursday Night Football, and it's like, okay, this is a team that we can definitely put stock behind safely now. So I'm feeling like probably adding an additional Bengals stock to my nice little stock department here, and that will cost me the 400 that they're currently sitting at, which will leave me 400 in the bank, which means if next week I don't make any sells, if I don't add to that bank account, I can still afford to acquire some bucks without having to be forced into a sell position. And so this Bengals stock pickup is the only pickup I will be doing this week after the sells I did. But I like where I'm sitting at for the rest of the year with this squad I have arranged here.
Sure, I forgot to update my bank account, so now I'm down to 1,100 officially. And then the other team I was looking at was the Texans, who are currently sitting at 6-4, coming off a loss. They're worth $600, and I am looking at them thinking they're getting Nico Collins back. They are playing against the Cowboys this week, and then the Titans the week after that. And that's a little run that I can definitely get behind.
That's a good run to get behind too.
I don't quite have enough to buy 2 of them. I'm at $1,100, not $1,200. And as tempting as it is to like sell my 49ers stock because I've made money on them, and they're entering a bit of a tougher stretch, I'm gonna just buy 1 Texan stock for now at 600, and then I'll reevaluate in a little bit. And then I do think I'm also going to pick up, because I still have $500 left over, I'm going to spend 400 of it on a Bengals stock and call my moves there, as I'm sitting at 100 smackers in the bank.
Smackaroos.
I've got, you can see it on the screen, but I've got Bucks, Rams, Niners, Texans, Dolphins, and Bengals stock. I'm up money on many of them, and looking up on the ones that I've purchased today, or I would not have purchased them. But heading into this next week of games, I'm hopeful. But I'm also a little nervous about some of my stocks. But we'll get into which ones that I'm confident in and not confident in when we get to PickEms. If you have any other moves.
No, I went ahead. I closed. Business hours have closed. I am out. Stock market. It's aftermarket now, and I can't place no orders because I am poor. So that'll be where I'm ending my stocks as well for the day.
We've done pretty well this year. We're both up at 5K plus in our net worth, in the net worth department.
Yep.
Started the
Came
year,
in at
I think
3K-ish.
Yeah, around 3K. I think I had 32. You had 3K on the nose. So you've passed me up in as far as profits go this year. But I'm chalking that up to the Bengals and my tying myself to them at the start of the year instead of a team that did a little bit better. But yeah, this is shaping up to be a nice end of the year run on the stocks. Mm-hmm. And I think with all of that said, we can get on into the pick'ems if you are ready for that.
I am, and I'll go ahead and I'll kick us off with the Thursday night football. I'm the correspondent here this week, so I'll kick us off with the Thursday night matchup. We got the Commanders visiting the Eagles at home. The Eagles are very strong, and I really like the Eagles. And well, I don't like them, but I can see what they've been doing lately and understand that this is a winning football team, and that they have a good chance at winning against the Commanders. And I originally had picked the Commanders here. And after last week, with the close game against the Steelers, that's kind of a tougher defense in my opinion than how the Eagles have performed thus far. I'm going to stick with my gut on the Commanders, but I definitely see this as a good pick for the Eagles.
Yeah, so I've got the Eagles in this one, and I'm equally flip-floppy, but ultimately my gut always tells me divisional matchups, pick the home team, and that's exactly what I'm going to stick with. I wonder what my record is picking the home team in what I consider to be toss-up divisional matchups. I'll have to go through that at some point this offseason or something and look at how well I've done off of that. Because that's something that I've lived by basically in pick'ems. Mm-hmm. Is if I'm not 100% sure, I'll take the home team just because there is a little bit of an advantage there. It's a divisional matchup, so it truly is a toss-up. I think the Commanders have a good chance at this one, especially because they just dropped 27 on the Steelers' defense, which is not a chump defense.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in Marshawn Lattimore, who was a healthy scratch this week, or not a healthy scratch. He had his hamstring injury that he's still dealing with.
Yep.
But they'll probably be adding him against the Eagles. The Eagles' defense is a little worse than the Steelers. Everything's shaping up for the Commanders to win. But again, my gut tells me home team division games, so I will stick with my gut on that one. Then another tough divisional matchup where some Bears fans are calling this trap game, but they are delusional. I've got the Packers in this one. The Bears just put up 3 points on the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was confused with my overrated teams. And so I'll go ahead and take the Packers in this one. New OC, same Bears. So we'll go with that.
Yeah, and I did the most minimal background look into the Bears. They promoted a passing coordinator, and prior to this year, he was the passing coordinator for the Bryce Young rookie season.
Yeah.
So I'm going Packers in this one, despite it being their away game. Then next we got the Jaguars visiting the Lions. This is the hardest lock of the Lions if I hadn't locked the Lions already this year. The Jaguars, they did keep it tight against the Vikings. But the Vikings also didn't look great. But when the Lions don't look great, they still squeak out a win with, thanks to an extra missing coat of paint on the uprights. So I've got the Lions in this one.
Yep, also got the Lions there. Pretty easy pick for that one. We're heading into another pretty easy pick with the Vikings-Titans. I'll take the Vikings in this one.
Easily.
Not a convincing victory against the Jags, but it's the Titans, so I will be, not so scared about this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there is the concerns. Titans defense is Titans defense, but their Titans offense is the Titans offense. So it's the Vikings in this one. Next, we got the Raiders visiting the Dolphins, and this is another team that isn't, so great. And they went ahead, they moved off their OC to, and I'm talking about the Raiders here, moved off their OC, went into a bye week. I don't have the most confidence in them exiting that bye week. And with what the Dolphins showed me against the Rams, who are a much better team in my opinion, I've got the Dolphins in this one.
Yep, I also have the Dolphins, and this is actually going to be my lock of the week. Throw it up there. This is a bad team facing a team that is getting healthier, getting better. They just beat the Rams, and I thought that was... We didn't really talk about that game at all, actually, but I thought it was a decent game, decent showing for the Dolphins, with some mistakes that can be removed. So against a worse Raiders team, I think they'll be just fine. Then the Rams playing against my Patriots. I'm taking the Rams in this one. I love that the Patriots beat the Bears so handedly. They beat them by 13 or 16. Sorry, it was 19-3. But I don't know. I think the Rams are a little bit more of a coherent team than the Bears, so I'll go ahead and take them in this one to beat the Patriots. We still got to keep that good draft pick. I need Ted McMillan in a Patriots uniform next year. So let's rock.
Yeah, I'll agree with the Rams for the win this one. Next up, we got the Browns visiting the Saints. The Saints, as I kind of alluded to last week, that they might win with that interim head coach bump. And I might even have them stacking another one here just because, Browns, they're certainly better since missing the guy at quarterback, he who shall not be named. But it's clear to me that they're playing with a whole reinvigorated kind of mindset. And I'm hopeful that the Saints will kind of stack some wins here to at least do right by some of their players that I do enjoy on their team. So I have the Saints winning this one. But, it's a toss-up game, and we can go ahead and smack a stamp up there for shit show of the week for this one.
Yep. And in this shit show of the week, it is a toss-up game, and I think the Saints really capitalized on that firing of the head coach boost, and I think that it'll wear off this week. I've got the Browns in this one, going to New Orleans and shitting on the Saints in the shit show of the week. I don't think it will be a blowout by any means. I think it's probably going to be a gritty 13-10 win, but I think the Browns are the team to do it. I think Jameis can dissect that defense without Marshawn Lattimore. So
you heard it here
see
first.
How that works.
The shit show of the week has the Browns going to the Superdome. Is this your intro or mine?
It does.
For the Ravens?
I think it's my intro. So we've got the Ravens heading to Pittsburgh for yet another divisional matchup, this one with the Steelers. But I feel pretty confidently in the Ravens in this one. I think they're the better overall team. Their defense is good enough, and their offense is amazing. The Steelers have a strong defense, but they just let budget Lamar put up 27 on them. When we see real Lamar go in there with real Derrick Henry instead of budget Derrick Henry, actually, budget Derrick Henry was injured, so that wasn't even budget Derrick Henry. I think the Ravens are a more healthy team than the Commanders, and so they'll do more things to the Steelers than the Commanders did.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are going to be able to just rip apart the Ravens secondary, but very similar to how the Bengals did. But I don't feel that the Russ deep shots on the sideline are a sustainable way to win. And so I'm going to actually flip my pick here to the Ravens because, as we kind of stated with how the Steelers have been performing, I think the Derrick Henry is going to just pile drive them into the ground. Got the Ravens in this one. Next, we got the Falcons at the Broncos. This is another one that's like super tight in my eyes. I feel like the Falcons are just kind of lacking a cohesive identity. They win. Don't get me wrong. They have a top half of the league ranked offense, but I don't trust that versus one of the top defenses of the league. Like, it's not top half. It's definitely top 10. So I have the Broncos winning here at home. Am I super confident in it? No. But I'm also not super confident in the Falcons finding an identity and doing really anything of notableness.
Yeah. I had the Falcons in this one. I'm going to go ahead and flip my pick and take the Broncos. I got to realize that I've got a bit of a bias against the Broncos. I really hate picking for them. I don't think they're a very good team, but they perform a lot better than my headcanon of the Broncos would have me believing that they perform. So I'll go ahead and listen to your voice of reason and take them in this one at home. Good defense. So we'll see if that can prevail. Then we get into, shocker, yet another divisional matchup of the Seahawks at the 49ers. This is going to be a good one. McCaffrey's back. Debo is back. And Kittle is still there. That offense is clicking. The defense is good. I'll take the 49ers in this one. Seahawks coming off a bye, though. Could upset for sure.
Yep. It's always a chance with these divisional ones, but I'm matching your pick. I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one. And then, wow, would you look at that? Both stamps of the week I get to intro us on. We got the Chiefs at the Bills, stamp of the week for game of the week. And I've got the Chiefs in this one, but damn, is it hard to not pick them. Like, you can't stop picking them until they fail, because otherwise you're robbing yourself of possibly another notch on your PickEms scorecard. But I want the Bills to win this one in my heart of hearts, because I want the Bills to win at home against the Chiefs, and I want Josh Allen to get over that hump. It's one that's gonna haunt them, and they've done it, and then it's haunted them in the playoffs. So let's just at least give them a little pity win. It's the regular season. Come on, Chiefs, take the week off.
Yeah, I've also got the Chiefs in this one. I'm picking it more as a way that I can be happy no matter what the outcome of the game is, because if the Chiefs win, cool, pick'ems. If the Chiefs lose, yay, the Chiefs lose. I also do kind of want the Chiefs to win, though, because I think it's really tough to sweep a team that's a good team if you play them twice. I think it's tough to beat them twice. So if they play them now and the Chiefs win now, I think it gives the Bills a little bit more of a better chance to beat them come playoff time if they meet up there. So I guess that's where my head's at there. But ultimately, if the Chiefs lose, it's a happy day in the household of mine. And then Bengals at Chargers. Taking the Bengals in this one. They're looking better than they were at the start of the season. They just came off a loss to the Ravens, another tough one, and they need to start stringing some of these together. I said that when they played the Raiders, that they needed to start stringing some of these together. I said it when they played the Giants. I believe they have yet to string some together this season, but I think they can take a win here and run from there.
Yep, this is a hard one, because I just made a stock purchase that kind of refutes my pick here this week, but as you kind of said with the Chiefs Bills, this is a happy either way. I either see my stocks go up or I see my pick 'em number go up by one. I have the Chargers in this one. The Chargers have such a strong pass defense. It's ranked like top 7 in any stat that matters for passing defense. And the Bengals, they went against a really poor pass defense against the Ravens, and they showed out against it. I don't think they're going to do that this week, and I think that it's certainly the way that they win games is through Joe Burrow, the passing, and they won't be able to do that this week. So it's going to be a much closer game than like the two teams just looking at them would have you think. But the Chargers offensively need to pick up the slack. They haven't been able to do that this year. So upping the offensive capability of the Chargers while muting the way that the Bengals are efficient, I hope that the Chargers can pull this one out, and so I've got them winning this one. Next up, we got the Colts at the Jets. Man, I don't like the Jets, but they're at home, and the Colts just do not look good with Joe Flacco as the starting quarterback. It's really, I root for the Colts when AR is starting, but seeing the decisions they've made to now get to this point, I have to pick the Jets here, despite, really not liking Aaron Rodgers and how he's played this season.
Yeah, I want to know how many picks it'll take before they bench Joe Flacco, because I think he threw 2 or 3 this past week and didn't get benched. But I just think the Colts are a dysfunctional organization for what they're doing with Anthony Richardson, so I'll take the Jets in this one, despite, I'm happier seeing a Jets loss than a Patriots win, but we'll see how it goes this week. And then we get into Monday Night Football, where Texans take on the Cowboys in Dallas in the stadium that blinds people. I've got the Texans in this one. Nico Collins hopefully coming back this week for the Texans, and Trey Lance hopefully starting for the Cowboys, even though it'll probably still be Cooper Rush. But Cowboys awful organization. Jerry Jones needs to keel over and let go of his pride for that team when they're not good.
Yep. I've got the Texans in this one, and it's really just the suckage of the Cowboys that makes me place the lock of the week for me on that. A little spoiler, waiting till the last game of the docket to drop that, but it is my lock of the week. I got the Texans, and that a narrow loss to the Lions despite being shut out in the second half. The Cowboys are not the Lions. In fact, they suck. So, easy lock for me this week.
Yep. And with that, I believe that is going to round out our video. Would you like to leave these people with any words of wisdom for them to lead or live their lives by?
You always pass it off to me for these words of wisdom at the end. And
words of wisdom. He said it again. Yep. He said it again.
I understand. I exude it. I really do. I did not go on Jimmy Fallon and get offended.
You exude the wisdom. Yes.
I exude wisdom. I am truly the heir apparent to the Rizzler, and I think I've mumbled on enough
Rizzler's
where
like
anyone
10,
watching has just quickly clicked off. And with that, deuces.
Deuces.